Hi, everyone. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Travel Esquire'd YouTube channel. I am so happy that you have joined me on this snowy and cold Wednesday afternoon. We are here for part two of the Terms and Conditions series, and we're going to talk about elements you should have in your Terms and Conditions document. But first, I want to welcome the Travel Esquire community who have come. So I actually was able to get some things rolling. So hopefully this show's a little bit more improved than last. So this is my second stream, and I'm really happy that you guys came. Before I really get started, I know I was supposed to do some other things first. I first want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in the first week. Your reactions and your feedback has been nothing but phenomenal. Hopefully you received some information that would help you in solidifying the foundation for your travel business. I'm here to give you more information as well, and I hope that you like what you are getting. If you're not able to make it live, please know that I have the same heartfelt sentiments for those who watch the stream on the replay. I'm team replay all day. Sometimes the day just gets away from me. I have to be on the replay. But make sure you support my channel, like it, subscribe, get your reminders, and be an exclusive member of the Travel Esquire community by getting on my email list. You'll get special offers, different tidbits that you won't get through this channel. You have to be on the list to get it, and you will get your little personalized reminders via your email to remind you to tune in today, and tune in for the streams in the future, as well as easy ways to click to get through so you don't have to search. So, first, I want to say hey to Sammy. Thank you for coming to support. I appreciate all of your support and your kind words. Leslie, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good afternoon to you. I appreciate you coming in, supporting for today. Then we have Busy Bee Travel Group. Please tell me your name. I want to know who you are. I want to be able to call you by name. But thank you so much for coming and being a part of the Travel Esquire community. The next thing is for me to just give you a quick disclaimer that anything on here is really can be construed as attorney advertising. Sorry, I have something in my eye. I don't know why it came into my eye right now, but life such as it is. But yes, so it can be construed as attorney advertising, and I have to tell you that anything here cannot be taken as legal advice, nor does it mean that you have an attorney-client relationship with myself or the Gellard Law Firm. So, you have any specific issues, please make a consultation with myself or another licensed attorney in your area, and we should be able to help you one-on-one. So that is the disclaimer. That's the legal stuff out of the way. Hello, Fantastic Voyages and more. Please let me know your name so I can address you by name. I so appreciate you. Um, Also, Selena from Marietta, Georgia. I love it. Love it. I know Georgia is a lot warmer than Albany, New York. So I have fans and family down there, so they all get on me. It'll be 2 degrees here, and they're like, yeah, it's 50, 60. Uh-huh. Can I drop kick you now or later? You can choose. And thank you, Leslie, for sending me some more for Florida. I appreciate it. I love and miss Florida as well. So thank you so much. So let's hit it. Let's get into why you are here today, which is the second part again of the terms and conditions series, and we're going to talk about elements that belong in your terms and conditions. So we've already went over the overview, what terms and conditions are, why you would use them, and what way they be used. Now we're talking about the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty of the document. What do you put in your document? And the goal is, when we're done with this series, that you're able to feel comfortable drafting your own terms and conditions document, or being able to look at your document if you have one in existence already and seeing where, some things you should change, maybe some holes is not protecting you enough. So it's all about making that document that a lot of my travel advisor, that a lot of my travel advisor colleagues say is like daunting and hard to get your head wrapped around. Make it easier so you feel comfortable writing and drafting your own document based upon how you run your business. So, one of the main things you want to have in your terms and condition document is, who are you? Who are you? What is your name? What is your company? Is your company a formed corporation like an LLC or an INC, or are you a sole proprietor or doing a DBA? Who are you? And then your purpose. What is it that you do? It's not just travel. We're all in the travel business. That's very generic. But why are you in the travel business? Is it because you want to create experiences for your clients? Do you want to give people an opportunity to travel the world? Do you want to show brides and grooms, or brides and grooms, um, that they can have their dream wedding in an island or somewhere else? What is it? What is your purpose? Why are you doing this? And it doesn't have to be a long soliloquy. It could be a sentence or two. But put in there what your reason is, what your why is. Oh, don't forget questions. Put the letter Q before your questions. So so I can pick them up and bring them forward. So as I ask their questions, I can easily pinpoint them in the chat. All right, thank you. So the next thing is, how to contact you. If there's any issues, they want to book with you, have questions, put how you can be contacted. You know, it doesn't have to be at the beginning. The document could be at the end, wherever. But you got to have that in there. You know, I suggest in this way, generally contacts can be via email, your name and email, but having a separate email dealing with terms and conditions issues or dealing with cancellation issues. It for the reason is number one, you have your email every day. You're talking to suppliers, you're talking to BDMs, you're talking to clients all day, every day through that email and prospective clients. But if you have specific things that require a specific deadline, such as cancellation requests. And this is especially important for my travel advisors who charge for cancellation. Have a separate email just for cancellation requests. Here's why. One, it documents the time, the date and time that person emails you. Because remember, your terms and conditions document is there to protect you. It cannot prevent you from having a lawsuit, but the stronger your document is, the more likely you are to win that lawsuit. So you want to make sure you have a way where your back office matches your terms and conditions document and it all flows. So if you have a cancellation policy and they have to cancel by a certain date, which we all do, and then there's certain penalties, there's certain fees that need to be charged, then you need to, my thing is have a specific email where those cancellation requests cannot get lost. Okay? If your inbox looks anything like my inbox is a hot mess. And I'm steadily going through trying to find emails. You do not want that. You do not want that if whatchamacallit, when you're dealing with deadlines, things of that nature. So it's very important that you make sure that you have a specific way to track that information. Okay. Give me one moment. Looks like we have an unwelcome visitor in our chat, so I have to deal with that. This is why they say you should have moderators. And you know, I wasn't there yet, but I guess I am now. So there's that. And I'm okay with that. There's worse things in the world. So just give me one moment. Let me deal with it and we shall be back. Come on, you can do it. All right. So the next thing we want to deal with is, who do you service? You got to let people know who you service, right? So if you don't let people know who you service, then that means you service everyone. But if you're just doing groups, then you don't service everyone. Let everybody know. Do you just do destination wedding? What is your niche? Do you deal with people who are aged 25 and older? Do you just deal with seniors? Do you just deal with cruises? Do you just deal with European vacations or Asian vacations? Let people know up front, because if you don't do that, then you're going to get people to you who may not who are not your target audience, and you don't want that. You want to keep your keep your focus on the people who you are targeting for your business. So let people know that up front. Okay? The next thing is to your terms of payment. How do you take payment? Because we all want to get paid, right? So some people have hosts. My hosts, they require that I have a they require that I take payment from my clients, take their card, and then charge their card directly with the suppliers. So I really can't take in payment for their vacation. There's other things where I can take payment in, But for that, I have to do it that way. So I need to explain to people that that's what I do. Some people take in payment and then they pay from their funds the supplier that they're going to use. That's fine too. But either way, we need to write block party. You are exactly right. I'm all for the block party. But yeah, but either way, you need to be able to tell them up front what you accept. If you're credit card only, say that. If you accept checks or cash, say that. Make people know up front what it is that you accept, so there's no type of so there's no question, right? The whole purpose of your terms and conditions document is to reduce questions. Okay. See, this is amazing. That was a good tidbit. Gave me an idea of how to set something up in my CRM for change requests and cancellation requests. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what Travel Esquire is here for, to help you as you run your business. It's not just the legal side, but you have to understand that all of those things work together harmoniously in how you run your business. So whatever you establish legally, you got to make sure you have systems in place to back that up and to support that. So yes, thank you, Busy Bee Travel Group, for that tidbit. Thank you. So the next thing is you want to go over your policies. And this is where I suggest you sit down and really write out what are those policies that are important to you that you need people to follow. Number one, I just talked about payment, how you're going to receive payment. Now, when you're talking about payment, you also have to think about return of payment or credits. How are you going to deal with refunds, right? So again, if somebody is your policy is non-refundable, you need to say that and be upfront about it. Don't hide it. Okay. Cancellation policy. Now, your cancellation policies vary depending on how you run your business. For instance, if you are do solely groups, right? So your cancellation policy for each group vacation may differ, right? So your cancellation policy may be in your proposal or the trip advertisement versus in your terms and conditions document because it differs. If you do groups and FITs, those are definitely different cancellation policies. So you may want to just say, look, your cancellation policy, for what I do, just giving you an idea, my all deposits are non-refundable. I'm just, you put down a deposit is non-refundable. But after that, things may change depending on your supplier, depending on a number of factors. So you want to say whatever your cancellation policy is in the actual description of the vacation. And that's okay because now you're directing your client or prospective client to whatever the cancellation policy is for that vacation. And you have to make sure that you spelled out in that cancellation policy in that vacation exactly what that policy is and keep a copy. And I would keep that copy until about 5 or 6 months after the vacation has traveled, just in case, because people. So yeah, so you can do that. You can refer to another document in your terms and conditions document, especially when you know that that policy is going to differ depending on how you advertise that vacation. Okay. You need to also put in there your itinerary or information changes, how you're going to handle that, right? Do they need to email you? Can they call you if they voluntarily change your information? But what happens if the itinerary changes involuntarily, airline changes, things of that nature? How are you going to handle that? Are you making your client responsible for those changes? Are you going to communicate that? Are you going to communicate, but the ultimate responsibility is on the client? Now, if they change, if the client comes to you and says, well, I don't want to leave on Thursday, I want to leave on Friday, are you charging for that change? That has to be, that has to be, whatchamacallit, that has to be spelled out as well in your terms and conditions document. And you should spell that out, right? What happens in that case? What happens in that instance? Put that in there. Remember, it's all about transparency. Dispute resolution. What happens if things go wrong? You know, You went through the cancellation policy. They don't like it. They're not, they're like, I don't want to adhere to that. You went through, what their accommodations were. They're not, you did everything in your power to make the client happy and still abide by your terms and conditions. And they're not feeling it. And that happens. That happens in every business. I know I've done that too as a business owner and as a consumer. So what happens in that case? And they're like, well, we want to sue you. Again, this document doesn't prevent them from suing you. The document is there to help you win. So now what happens? You can say, okay, if we can't come to a mutual understanding on a disagreement, your only recourse is arbitration. You can do that, right? Or you can sue me, but you have to sue me where my business is located. So if you're in California and we have Tanya, and this is a good idea for me to say hi to Tanya. Hi, Tanya. Thank you for joining us. She's in Greenville, South Carolina, right? So if you're in Greenville and your client's in California, you don't want to go all the way to California to defend a lawsuit against you. Make it a little harder. Make them come to Greenville. And your document should say that. And it should reflect that. Okay. And you can also limit how much their recovery is. So their recovery, you can say, is limited to how much you pay for your trip. So in case you do win, okay, great. But you're not getting any more money back from me other than what you paid for your trip. Now it's up to the courts whether or not they want to adhere to that. But that's also an option as well as you draft your document and limiting how much of recovery they can get. Now remember, this is an open question period as well. If any questions come up, please, please, please put it in the chat. Let me I want to see what your questions are. We're going to handle it at the end. I'm almost through my spiel, so I want to see your questions. I want to know what your questions are, and we're going to get to it. Okay, so other policies that should be in your travel terms and conditions document. General travel policies. Who's responsible for making sure they have a passport, their visa, COVID requirements? They're changing now too. We just had to change just on Monday from being able to test if you're coming back to the US, have your COVID test 3 days before traveling. Now it's 1 day for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. A lot of resorts in the Caribbean are now starting to charge for COVID testing where before it was complimentary. So all of those changes, and those changes happen on the fly. How are you dealing with them as a travel advisor? Are you making the ultimate responsibility the client? Are you going to make sure that you communicate those changes? We should as a courtesy. That's why they have us for our services. That's why they're purchasing our services. But you can't grasp everything. You can't stay on top of everything. Sometimes it's just impossible. And so you're doing it for many clients where they're doing it for themselves. So it's very easy for things to fall through the cracks because there's just so much information right now. So you need to say who has that ultimate responsibility. Also, how this document is going to be interpreted. As travel advisors, we service clients all throughout the United States. We're not just limited to people who are in our state. So we want to make sure that this document is interpreted in a way that best fits us and where we're located. So you want to say that, the document will be interpreted by New York law if you're in New York, or South Carolina law if you're in South Carolina. You want to make sure that that choice of law and how the document will be interpreted will be done in a state that's favorable to you where you have your business. Okay. Limitation of liability is also huge. And I think I've delved into that a little bit in the other topics. I talk with my hands, so sorry. My hands are all over the place. But in the other topics, I went into limiting your liability. That's what you really want to do in this document. You, as travel advisors, we are third party intermediaries. So you have your client on this end and your suppliers on this end, and we're the people who marry the two. Okay? So as we marry the two, we need to make sure that we're marrying the client with the right supplier. Now, a whole lot of things can go wrong. For instance, your client may have purchased the bomb swim out 2 bedroom suite, and the supplier gave them the run of the house junior suite. You know what I mean? That's totally out of your control. But your client is going to look at you because you were the one, if not but for you, they would have never really gotten to that supplier. So they're going to look at you and be like, look, I need a refund. I need the difference because I paid for glitz and glam and they gave me rocks and salt. So you want to make sure that you limit your liability in that, or even eradicate your liability. Like, I'm not responsible for what they give you. I will advocate for you, definitely, and you should as a travel agency owner. But I'm ultimately not responsible, and be there to advocate for your clients. So you want to limit all of that. Or if somebody gets hurt, let's say they're out in Jamaica and they get on an ATV flips over. Now they have hospital bills. Or God forbid somebody passes away and they're looking at you like, you need to pay my bills. You need to pay the bills for my loved one because you are the one who recommended the tour to them and it wasn't safe. You want to make sure you don't have that liability. Excuse me. You want to make sure that that your liability is limited, or you have no liability, because at the end of the day, they took a risk being on an ATV vehicle in Jamaica, knowing that it's not the safest thing in the world. So you want to make sure your liability is limited in that way. Force majeure. We have been talking about that since COVID for at least 2 years. Force majeure has been in contracts for God knows how long, right? And it's one of those little provisions in contracts where people skim over. They're like, okay, whatever, it's standard. COVID has shown just how important that piece of information really is. How that little section in the contract or in your terms and conditions document really, really is. And so, with that being said, you need to make sure your force majeure provision not only states what happens. Well, let's explain force majeure first. And then I can get into what it should state, because I think you should have the foundation and then the information. That's key. So what a force majeure provision is what happens when neither party can perform the contract through no fault of their own. Again, COVID was the best explanation of that. So what happens if you, travel agent, can no longer perform? So that means that, for instance, earlier this year, there was a snowfall in Texas, and then the ice storm, and then it took out the grid and what have you. No travel agent, they didn't have internet access. Some people didn't have phone access. Some people's houses flooded. All of those grand things that happened during that time. That would be considered a force majeure event because it was totally out of the agent's control. It was not something that they could have foreseen. They live in Texas, sunny days all year round. But now you have this ice storm that totally knocked out the grid. So it's totally unforeseen. And during that time period, that agent could not perform their job. So that's what force majeure is. Or you're in a hospital, for instance. I'm not putting that out there for anyone, but I'm just throwing that out there because that can happen. And you can't make your final payment. There's things that you just can't do to deal with your booking because you are incapacitated in a way that's not your fault. Okay? So we have to deal with that. What does that mean? That means that once the contract is suspended, until the party is able to perform again. Okay? So if you're in a hospital, let's say you broke your leg. I'm not trying to say that you're doing anything. You broke your leg and you have to be in the hospital for 3 days while they go through, make sure your leg is set, so on and so forth. So for those 3 days, you can't perform. Fine. Then what does not happen is that you get your money back. Your clients get their money back. That's not what happens. Okay. So what does happen is that you now go to the cancellation policies of both your policy, what's in your terms and conditions, and a policy of the supplier to see what can be done. Okay. So that's what happens. And one of the things that I found that force majeure provisions did not have is that what happens if the parties can't perform? Where do we go to next? And that led, in my opinion, that led to everybody being confused as to clients saying, oh, I can get my money back because you can't perform. That's not necessarily true. And I found that a lot of places were not equipped to whatchamacallit, to handle the influx of cancellations, what have you, due to force majeure, because their force majeure provisions were missing that, okay, this happened, now what happens? A lot of suppliers are now adding that provision to their force majeure text because that was the missing piece. So now we hit force majeure. That should be in there. Those are the major items. So let's go over it again. Your policies, your refund policy, cancellation policy. What happens if there's an itinerary or information change? Dispute resolution policy, general travel policies such as making sure you have your visa, making sure you have your passport and it is valid, COVID requirements or restrictions, choice of law, what law, state law should interpret the terms and conditions contract, limitation of liability, and force majeure. All of those things are whatchamacallit. All of those things should be in your terms and conditions document. Now, there are some things that you might also want to include for good measure. They don't have to be, but should for good measure should be in your terms and conditions document. One, what happens when you have that roommate who cancels? Yeah, we have all been there. You're going, everybody's paying, but then that roommate comes up and says, I'm not talking to Mary anymore. She can kiss my entire behind. I ain't going. And I want my money back. Yeah, that's fun. Definitely put into your terms and conditions document what that is. Or Jeff and I aren't dating today. He's a player. I can't stand him. Dot, 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 dot. I ain't going. And I want my money back. So yeah, you have to put into your terms and conditions how to deal with that. We've all had those in our business, and if you haven't, you will. So you should definitely think about putting that in your terms and conditions document and what happens. Rules for prospective group travel. You want to have, especially if you're doing groups, you want to be able to have people come on into your travel, into your group and do great things. You want them to have fun. You want them to do whatever it is they want to do, turn up, turn down for what? The whole nine. But what if somebody brings drugs? What if somebody gets extra drunk and belligerent? What if somebody starts vandalizing the property or is being threatening or harmful to somebody else? You're bringing a whole bunch of, if you're doing prospective group travel and it's not people like family or friends, you're bringing a whole bunch of strangers to a place for them and in hopes that they get along. But what happens if they don't? You need to have something in your document that handles that. Okay. Also, travelers with disabilities. I've been on various cruises, all other types of travel where people may have physical disabilities and or mental disabilities. And not every place is welcoming for people with disabilities. For instance, you know, um For instance, you know, going to Rome, I stayed near the Spanish Steps. Love it down there, but there's nothing but cobblestone streets. And then the sidewalks there are teeny tiny and narrow. It's definitely not wide enough for a wheelchair to go down that street. So that means you're on the cobblestone walkway. Like, you got to keep that in mind. Some hotels don't have elevators. And if they do, the elevators may not stop on every floor. You got to keep that in mind and encourage your clients to tell you if they have any disabilities. It's not for you, let them know that that information is kept confidential unless it's something that you can physically see. But if somebody has a issue walking, or if somebody has, or walking long distances, that's not something you can see, but they need to let you know that, because then you can see whether or not that vacation is right for them. And that's what we do as travel advisors. We advise. But we can't advise on what we don't know. So I would say make it a part of your terms and conditions. Make it a part of your introductory questions when you're qualifying your client, and ask them, do they have any disabilities? If you have any disabilities that you need to be aware of, so you can make some type of accommodations if that's possible. Okay. Some vacations, some people just can't go on because they don't have the accommodations available for their needs. And it's okay to have that conversation, but it's best to have that conversation up front before money is put on the table. Because once money is put on the table, there's expectations and you have to live up to that. So it's very important that you get that information up front. And any releases, again, group travel, people who do destination weddings, you want to get that footage. You want to see people having fun on vacations that you've curated and planned. Do you have a release to put those photos out there on Facebook or Instagram, or put it out in your promotional material? That's all important to make sure you do, and have their permission. What about to add you to the email list? As you can see, I ask people to join my email list. You're giving me permission to give you emails about what I'm doing with Travel Esquire'd and provide you with information to help you run your travel business. So get that permission first. You can handle it in your terms and conditions. You can have a separate sign release. Totally up to you, but definitely get that permission. So that is all that I have for today. I want to go into some questions and answers. Please add your question to the chat. Put the letter Q in front of it, so I know that these are questions, so I can pull them up. And I'm gonna hit the question. So let's talk. We have a question from Linda. Hi, Linda, and thank you for joining today. I'm so excited that you are here. So she's asking, will this be recorded? Because she has some things to do today. Yes, all of my lives are going to be recorded. You can go back to the Travel Esquire'd channel. You will see this will be under the playlist terms and conditions, and you can replay this. If you gone through this, stayed live with me today, and there's something that you forgot, go back and check out the replay. Start it, whatever you need to do. See if there's a concept there. And if there's a question that you had that you don't think of now, but you think of later, add it to the comment box in the replay. I look at these things, I come back, and I will answer your question. So please put it in there. And don't think that you had, question may be silly or whatever. I answer all the questions, and 9 times out of 10, if you had that question, somebody else had that question. So let's get it out there. That's what I'm here for, to help you build your business and help make sure you're protected. So please come back, take a look, replay. Like I said, I'm part of the replay. Oh, Donna, thank you. Welcome, Donna, and thank you for tuning in today. Yes, I appreciate you thinking of me. And yes, I do have clients that if you want to talk about your terms and conditions, I do sell a terms and conditions document on the Travel Esquire'd website. I will put that in the chat towards the end. But yes, I am here to help, not just for this, but one-on-one if you need to. So Leslie, do you need an attorney to review or help you develop your terms and conditions? I'm an attorney. I'm going to say yes. Here's why, though. And I'm not saying it just because I want you to just give up your money or whatever. That's not why I'm saying it. What I am saying is that, and I covered this in the overview part, and I'll cover it again and again and again. Everybody runs their business differently. You may sell group travel. You may sell group travel. This person over here may sell group travel. That person over there may sell group travel. And all of you do it differently. So you want to make sure your terms and conditions document not only reflects how you do business, but also reflects the legalities of how you do business. And so many of you as travel advisors are some of the smartest people I know, hands down. The things that you think about, the resources you have, all of those good things, you amaze me every day. However, think about it as far as your doctor's concerned. Would you go to a generalist if you're having a heart problem? Would you go to a podiatrist if you're having a back problem? Would you go to a dentist if you're having a knee problem? Same thing here. You guys know travel. Travel is your thing. But when you're talking about your legal documents, you should go to somebody who has the knowledge and expertise to guide you legally. One of the things I always say to my business owners, you need to have your squad. And you may not use the people in your squad all the time and at every juncture, but you need to have these people in your Rolodex that you can call on if you have questions, issues, so on and so forth. And it's usually about 4 to 5 people: your accountant and or bookkeeper, your web designer, your attorney. Those are the 3 major people you need to have in your squad. Okay. And then there's other people as well. But those are the 3 major that you should have in your Rolodex. Find someone that you know and trust or learn and trust to be in your corner that you can call on if there's any questions. Yes, yes. Hi, Adrian. Yes. Yes, keep living, definitely. And I think she's going back to the whole disabilities part, that you can travel while being disabled, but make sure, you cover that. Okay, Leslie, I like this question. If an independent home-based travel agent is under a host agency, do you still need terms and conditions? Yes. Here's why. The important word here is independent. You are not an employee of that travel agency, of that host agency. You are a 1099 worker, meaning that you have total control over your schedule, over when you work, how you work, who you're target marketing, who you're marketing to, all of that stuff. Okay? That means it's your business. Your host agency is only going to do things that protect that host agency, right? Who's protecting your business as an independent person? That responsibility falls on you as a business owner. So yes, you do need to have your own terms and conditions, okay? And what that looks like depends on, you have to keep in mind as you're drafting what your host agency says and what you are what your needs are and how you're running your business. Okay. So any other questions? Because those are all the questions. I went through all the questions. You guys are quiet today. I need you guys, come through. But I do appreciate everyone. Yes, you're very welcome, Leslie. I do appreciate you coming today. Do not forget to like and subscribe. If you really, really got information from this, hit the little thumbs up button. That's your like button. There's a little subscribe button there too. Hit that and get reminders. I am here every Wednesday, God willing. It's usually at 10:30 a.m. I had something to do this morning, so I had to switch it to 2. But I will be here, unless I said I can't be, to answer your questions. Next week, I'm going to go, the next part of the Terms and Conditions series is talking about some pitfalls you can encounter when drafting your terms and conditions document. And the reason why I split this up that way is because terms and conditions is a amorphous document. It's several pages long generally, and it encompasses a whole lot of information. And what I like to do is break it down into pieces to make it easier for you guys to digest and understand. And then that also allows me to give a deeper dive into what I am, the information I'm providing. Because in an hour, to do terms and conditions in an hour, I'm giving you a general overview. You know, I wanted to give a deeper dive so people can understand and have more in-depth questions about terms and conditions and what they can do to make a stronger document in order to protect your business. Elena, thank you. I so appreciate it. And please keep tuning in every week. That's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. And I'm so glad. And if you're getting great information, please share with your colleagues and your networks about Travel Esquire'd. Um, get onto my email list, forward the emails on, have them get onto my email list so they can know as well when I come live next. Thank you so much, Michelle. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Oh, Leslie has another question. Yes. Can you periodically change your terms and conditions? Yes, you can, and you should. I think that you should look at your terms and conditions document at least once a year because you've had a year of utilizing them. And you need to make sure and check in. Like, this is a living and breathing document, right? Um, as your business grows, as your business flows, your terms and conditions document needs to run that same course. And so, like I said, at least once a year for years that are not really that huge, but you want to look at it and make sure certain policies work for you, right? Let's say you decide you don't want to that you never charge planning fees before, and you want to start charging planning fees. That should go into your terms and conditions document. That's an update. You should also let people who are your clients know that you've changed your terms and conditions document. Right now, I know that I've been getting emails from all of the places that I purchase from. We've updated our terms of service. We've updated our terms of use. We've updated blah, 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 our privacy policy. Yeah, you as a business owner, you should be doing the same and sending out our whatchamacallit, and sending out an email to your clients and prospective clients saying, I've updated my terms and conditions. Take a look at it. Okay. So it's very important, and make sure when you do update your terms and conditions document that you keep prior copies. Because if somebody booked under a prior version of your terms and conditions document, even though you've updated it, until they travel, they're going under those rules. Anybody who travels on or after the date of your updated policy, they will be traveling under the new rules. Okay. Not only that, you want to say when you last updated your terms and conditions. So you know when you last updated your terms and conditions document. It's very important that you have that information on there. You're very welcome, Leslie. Elena, Elena asked, that's what I should say. Should we draft our terms and conditions document and let you look at it? You can. Now, 9 times out of 10, if I look at your terms and conditions document, I'm going for the gusto. So one of the things that I do ask, like I do have clients who let me have their terms and conditions document. I look at it and I'm like, you did great. But they also have experience in doing drafting contracts. So if you don't have that experience, then I say just sit down with a consultation with me and let's go over your needs and figure out from there whether or not I can use what you have or do we need to start from scratch. Okay. So yes, but you definitely should have some type of terms and conditions document on your page. Some protection is better than nothing. But again, if you want it tailored to your business, again, I sell a contract template on the Travel Esquire'd website, www.travelesquire'd.com. Or if you want them done custom, I can help you with that. And if you purchase them and you're like, this is too much for me, you could also purchase me to help you customize the template. So All of those things are there for you if that's what you so choose. So if there aren't any questions, usually I put an hour into these. So it's about, yeah, almost there. But I want to wait a second or two, see if there's any other last minute questions before I sign off. You're very welcome, Elena. Thank you for chiming in with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Wednesday to come join the Travel Esquire community and get some of these get your foundation right for your documents right for your business. So if there aren't any other questions, I am going to give you guys some time back. I did want to let you know, please keep tuning in. I am actually starting to schedule some guests. So yeah, we're growing and we're growing fast. Um, so I appreciate all of you. Please have a wonderful and blessed Wednesday, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.